Hola, hola. I'm Trek with two Ks,
And I am 3D, and welcome to Metaverses The Other Side.
brought to you here on the Gentleman of Crypto Network. Just a heads up, this episode is before we had the idea of bringing the Twitter spaces to the Gentleman of Crypto Network. And so that's why we're talking about the stuff that we're talking about in this episode.
Okay. So that was, what's the damn? I can't think of the name of the damn code now. List? Is it list? That's one of the early ones?
Are you talking about Linux?
No. Like list. LIST.
Now, the original coding language is called BASE, BAS.
No, I wasn't saying list was the original. I was saying it was one of the early ones.
Yeah, it's definitely from the 70s list.
I learned basic. That was my
Love BASE.
Really? In the 80s.
That is what's up.
Y'all
And
know,
I started on C++ and, well, early Python, actually. When I first got into coding, Python was like a brand new little baby.
Oh, cool.
that is cool.
Now it's out everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah. It's so weird to say that like they're on like Python 3 or Python 5. And like, I remember Python 0.87. That was my first Python build.
Jesus.
Sorry. Distracted on the screen. All right. Here's something else that I noted. And it seems like they touch on it once or maybe twice. The religious thing of like, okay. So you remember in the scene where Flynn first comes in and they bring him out with the other programs to get introduced to like what the training process and all that is. And he's like, if you renounce the belief in the user and then give your loyalty to the master program and believe in the blah blah blah. And I was like, wait, when did the religion thing get in here?
It was a few scenes before that when they had the original creator of the company talking to Dillinger. And he told the guy, he's like, I'm done talking religions with you. And back in the day, there was this thing where it was like, depending on what architectural type you worked with on your computer, like even stuff like if you're using the chip 806 versus the original one, I think it's like 1172 or something like that. So certain architecture types, including code bases, like they all had this different religion around them. So people would be like, no, 806 is the true microprocessor that should be in a computer. Then other people would be like, yeah, but 1176 handles more data per second. And so like it creates the divide in everything. And so in the thing, like in the software part, they're just like furthering that on. But again, if you're going AI versus non-AI, all these programs have some form of AI, and you're basically telling other AI, look, bro, you got to give up on your user. You're disconnected from them. It's like you remember like you use an app or something and it just stops working for a while. Well, master control just took that program from you and all you have left now is your interface, right? So if you could give up the fact that you no longer have an interface, you no longer have a user, master control is your interface or whatever, or your new user, you have a chance of continuing on.
I feel like we're going through our version of that right now within the blockchain space, as far as the self agency to be able to interact with layer one blockchain versus I need to do like these second, third layer things that limit your ability of function. Or maybe I might be seeing that in reverse. I don't know.
No, it's true. Like all the sorts of different ones are religion type things with blockchain. You got proof of work versus proof of stake. You have, real Bitcoin versus non-real Bitcoin. You have utility over security. You have time, speed of transaction versus security of transaction. what is considered decentralized versus what is considered partially decentralized or centralized. Like all those religion things still exist.
Yeah, like I'm there. Huh. Okay, you remember? This is like kind of left what relates. You remember when I was telling you about that BB the bulletin board documentary, and then like
Mhm.
why like oh yeah, I know it's one of the people and stuff like that reminds me of this. And okay, what does this say about human beings and like our nature, or is it just that this shit is hard coded into us to be like, whoa, you got to be on my team, like, or like it got to be this way, like.
I think that's kind of hard coded. I like to use, what's that sport? Like the slime sport or slime mold as a great example for humans because like psychologists use it to determine humanistic traits. And basically it like the slime mold never tries to stay in one spot or else it might die. Right. So it always moves around. And when it's moving around, every so often there becomes problem or situation or scenario. And some of the slime mold chooses to stay and separate from the rest of the hive. And then the hive just kind of says, fuck you and leaves it alone. And in that process, over time, what has happened was some slime mold in other areas actually become better, bigger hives. And they'll do the exact same thing. Eventually, there'll be a point where that slime mold, a majority of the slime molds that are working together go, you know what? We want to separate. And they do the exact same thing. And part of it just separates. And it's absolutely the same, but it's humans do the exact same thing. Humans tend to migrate a lot. And then when some humans find an area, they're like, fuck, bro, I like it here. They stay and they separate.
So does that go into like tribalism then? Like,
That's what creates it. Because then, some people will be like, no, we need to continue moving because that's how we stay alive. And some people will be like, no, I want to stay here because it's nice. I can survive here. That's what creates tribalism is that need of whenever you have some people disagreeing with other for any reason that creates tribalism.
you also you know what else I just realized? So sorry, I'm totally being distracted right now. But in the movie, she ends up kissing Flynn before Flynn jumps into the blue light, and then she goes and kisses Tron.
Yeah, when I was watching parts of this, I was like, especially the point you're talking about, I was just like, that's pretty liberal for a super conservative company at the time to put in there. So they're basically saying it's okay for the women to do one thing and flip flop around and stuff, but also like it was software, right? So we have to look at it like that. So that's the program was all like, hey, bro, I fell in love with you, but even though it represents the human. And if you think about that still, they still have like, like when you have exes coming to, in their new relationship going to see their old one, sometimes there is that like a little bit of miss where they're like, oh, kind of remember why I liked you in the first place, but still not with you or don't want to be with you or da da da. So I think it was something kind of like that, just showing that like misty foreground because they're all working together to make one a complex amount.
Sorry, I was just reading the thing um where it hey, what's going on? Sotang. Sorry, what does it say? Sotang, yep. Thanks for joining. We appreciate. All right. In the let me do this while I'm on this thought process right now. So house cleaning is not house cleaning, but like house cleaning, gotta do your tidy up. This Twitter space, basically we talk about metaverse related things. We do more geeking out. This isn't about price talk stuff. This isn't about speculation or like what type of property or thing to look at. This is really us just geeking out on things that we're either working on, which is me in 3D, as well as things that we're connected to. Case in point, right now, we are working on doing our next hackathon. That'll be in December before the Crypto Mindset Reset virtual conference, which is the 13th and the 14th of December. We also do things where we talk about the metaverses that we work in, primarily right now focused on, my bad, bro. I'm trying to do the, oh man, doing the wrong thing. I'm trying to talk and then like find you to invite you in at the same time. Sorry. Hold on. There we go. So yeah, just letting folks know what type of Twitter space this is. We've been running for a couple of weeks now, if not like 3 months or a little bit longer, where we've been covering different things. And again, we kind of just geek out on the tech side of things, and we like fawn over how much stuff that we see in newer projects or things coming out now, and like how good is it versus how not. Yo, you know what? That probably might be a thing to do, bro. One day we got to make a list of like going through metaverses and being like, all right, where are you? I don't know if we can use the same metrics that we've been using for like the movie TV show metrics, but that might be another series like to kind of run down as far as like whose metaverse is, I don't want to say good or bad, but like what's going on and where they at, and not talking about it from a price point, none of the price speculation stuff, but talking about the UX, the UI, the design and all that of it. So just throwing that out there. Other thing to note is this space and what we're doing with it is eventually we'll be pushing it over on the YouTube side. And as I was saying before about the whole like AI generative art stuff and some of the other things that me and 3D have been working on, such as the website that we put up on IPFS that has the toolbox. We call it the Metaversal Toolbox, which is basically low code, no code, and code ready tools that you can use to create things within metaverses. So either you can create from scratch if you really feeling that techie, or you can do some, you know, copy paste code stuff, some drop down menu stuff, some just pick option one, and then the whole thing just like generates onto itself. That's the stuff that we are highly interested in, and as well as like trying to hopefully share this information with other folks and see who else gets interested in it too. There was another thing and I cannot remember it right now. Oh, also want to say shout outs to Groove Dude, because he was the first person who actually gave us the free for all to acquire and design and build out his virtual space in the Uplift Metaverse, which is based on his company called Spore Baby. If you are into the magic mushroom scene, you definitely need to check out his stuff. Again, it's called Spore Baby, and the space that we built out is in the Uplift Metaverse. And all of the building structures above and below ground are mushroom inspired, like real world mushroom stuff, but that's a whole nother thing. So back into this whole movie thing called Tron. This is what we're talking about tonight. And we've been getting into stuff about AI. We've been talking about some of the religious overtones of it, as well as like, what did the different characters represent? There's a whole Japanese character. Oh, okay. Sorry, got distracted. The movie's playing on mute on the TV. Sorry. But nonetheless, the movie that we're talking about, well, we're still getting into an hour or so later, is the movie Tron. If somebody else wants to throw out something, because I got a couple more things that I had written down about it, but I don't want to be the only one talking.
Yeah, I had to come back. Twitter pulled me out. I don't know. The movie was way better than it should have been, in my opinion. Like, even like how they did everything, where they basically that used foam plot or property, like green screening. And then they did an overlay on top of that where they colored everything in to make it look ultra different and stuff. And from the effects to the ideals and scenarios, they're insane. Down to a point where it's like I swear, like one of the openings was a PCI slot, and it's just like they kept it true, like back in the day where writing was good, but so our ratings that we normally do is UI, UX, so user interface, user experience, hardware, metaversal experience, and yeah, basically I think the UI definitely was a 1. They had touch, like they had virtual keyboards. They had the keyboard and the screen was on the same spot with built-in microphone, built-in webcams and stuff that we're used to, right? They actually had old-fashioned terminals, which like I actually remember those and stuff, Commodore 64 and Apple IIe and stuff. And then the user UX, because I don't know, I'm going to put that closer to a 0 because it's just either a 1 or a 0 here. And I definitely take it to 0 because, yeah, sure, it was very similar, but the way they physically spoke to the machines, it was like the machine was a person or whatever, or an AI. And that isn't to how we do things right now. And then hardware, I put it at 1 because they actually had real hardware in the game. Like in the movie and stuff, it's real hardware. It's where actual apples and stuff like that. And then metaversal experience, I would put it probably at a 0. The zero experience they had in the software land, or whatever, their metaverse, basically, nothing like what we have in reality.
Okay, so that is yeah. Okay, so what I was gonna say, I still had another question or two that I wanted to throw at you, but you had already started on the rating stuff. So if I could still ask that one.
Absolutely, Broseph.
All right. So was the master program a private server? All right. Do you remember the part where they were doing the racing game on the cycles, and
Yeah.
he had the red dude crash into the wall and that broke the barrier?
Yeah.
Okay. Is that barrier, it's not a firewall, but it counts as a block for what? Just like that segment of the software? Or does it count for like, that'd be like segmentation, like partitions within the system? But
Yeah.
is master program on a private server and then he's expanding outside of his server domains?
I would say that they're all in the same server, and that wall is a combination of permissions and like memory. So they could actually leak into other things in their in that memory core. But I definitely would say same server, just because it was going through and infiltrating and attacking other stuff, but it was always bringing it back. Then that whole thing between like game domain to software domain, like your servers, you have server stacks in a server. So that would probably be moving from one physical server stack to another physical server stack, but probably in the same server room.
Okay. So then, also before I end up going into the ramble on and on, Sultan Yuck and M_P, if you guys want to jump in, I would definitely appreciate it. Just raise your hand so I could throw the speaker thing off for y'all. And thanks for tapping in, by the way. MP, if you missed it, we were talking about the movie Tron, the 82 version, not the latter remake ones. And we were just comparing the
metaversal interpretation of the virtual world in comparison to what we understand about metaverses now and the whole UI, UX thing, as well as like hardware, software stuff. So that's what we're going on about. Sorry, what was the other question I had? Okay, bam. So now the question I just asked about that whole barrier thing and like, is that a difference in servers or is that a difference in like partition and stuff? When they get out and then they see the input output signal, is that the terminal that is then, okay, how do I say this? If there's more than one terminal in the building that the users were using to create the software or communicate into the network, how is it that that's the only one they show when they get outside? Like, cause what's his name? Tron's user, he went to his cubicle to go to his terminal, and then the girlfriend went to her terminal, which was where the laser was. But when Tron makes it to the IO, he ends up communicating directly with his user. Like, how does that end up? I don't expect the right answer. Like, there's a wrong or right answer, but I'm curious as to your interpretation of that, because it kind of threw me off where it's like, well, if there's other terminals, how is it that this one goes directly to his guy?
All right. So when I was watching, I'm just going to start at the ending of this part of what you're talking about. Because when I saw him, Tron, walk into that beam and then put up his thing, and like that would have been displaying on all terminals. You know what I mean? Like that wouldn't have been just directly on him. Anybody else sitting on a terminal would have been able to tap into that conversation, right? They would either saw it on the screen or heard it in some form, right? And when I saw, like we were saying, like it's just one IO, I did notice there was also tons of beams that IO was then talking to, which tells me for sure it's a central processor. So what I think that really is, that's the only data line to the IO interface. So where it plugs into all the servers and stuff, you know, like basically the software side just has one bit of code or one section of code that goes does the IO. And so that would have been why there's only one beam of light going out, because there's only one bit of code that deals with that. And so they don't actually directly deal with it there. That's just the channel processing. So you could say that's a tunnel, you know, that beam could have been a tunnel or like an SSL or anything like that. And then I did notice at the very end, the guide's file gets printed off, but it also is being printed on all the terminal screens. So that still makes me think that when, what's his name, Tron was actually talking with his user, I still believe that would have been on all terminals in the building.
All right. Okay, so if the terminal was on, the message would have popped up. Even if the monitor just happened to be on, the message would have popped up because it was just like a general
Mass display.
Okay, gotcha. All right. So sorry I'm asking all these questions, folks. I was just curious, and then I still got the other 20 minutes that I need to watch, and I'm probably gonna have some more questions on that, and we'll go back and forth on Signal on that side of it. Because yeah, there's definitely a couple of things that I just saw that I have questions about. I'm also curious on what other Easter eggs were in that movie, because we found 2 of them, but I imagine there had to be at least 5. But I guess it depends on how hard of or how much you really know about either the tech side stuff or, I mean, I don't know, because I definitely didn't expect the Mickey Mouse thing. The what was it? It was Coletta. No, it was Gord Kalata Nick 2. Gord Kalata Nick 2. That was the message on his cubicle wall, which was from the movie. But like if you're not really a hardcore sci-fi person, or you just didn't have the quick enough eye to question certain things, like see it and question it, like I'm wondering now how many things that I missed that were in the movie. Granted, this has nothing to do with metaverse stuff. I'm just curious on that end of it. So yeah, like I said, we geeking out over things that most people might not find that interesting. Sorry, y'all.
But you said you had Phil, you had just came up with some more questions not that long ago. Like, what are some of the questions? I'm interested.
Oh no, that was one of them. The IO thing was another one. What was the other thing? And yeah, that was the other question too. Like, where did they escape to? When they broke through that wall, which was something about the was it a separate server, a different domain, da 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 da. Because okay, I'm trying to remember the name of this animation, but there's a couple of different animes that follow the concept of when you get into like the MMO games and who is it? Sword Online has something in the narrative similar, but it's actually, I think Long Horizon is the one that really has it, where like X number of people playing an MMO game. I think the name of the game is actually Long Horizon, or that might have been the name of their Builders Guild or whatever. But they end up having an issue where they're all X amount of people got stuck on one server, and the game used to work where they can cross into different servers, which like took them into a whole different realm. And so that's why I was wondering about that, of like, are they trying to cross into different servers, or is that what the master program is trying to do? But when in his case, he's looking to get into different networks. And so here's another thing that I was thinking too. Dillinger's character, what is his character's name in the virtual world?
Satkia or Satkaya?
Something along that line. So when he first told him that he had the user inside the virtual world, I thought he was going to be like, oh, okay. I thought he was plotting to try and get out of the virtual world and get into the real world.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that's where it was going, but it was like, oh no, that's not where it's going. You're just like okay with being, stuck on this side and then working as the lackey, arguably working as the lackey for the program app.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. But yeah, it didn't go in that direction. But then like the program masters thing was about just getting into different networks and taking control of everything. And again, like that's the virus thing, the gluttonous nature of data and taking over stuff. So, okay. What was the other one I had? Okay. The, the little thing that was floating, that was like changing into the diamond and what's the multi-sided figure thing? What's the name of the multi-sided die?
Like, what the name of the die, or that thing that was floating around was a bit.
Right. And I thought there was going to be more like going on with that particular character, but there wasn't. I thought it had a little bit of comic relief in it as far as how he was interacting with it. I was like, okay, that's kind of funny. But I thought there was going to be more relevance, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense, because all it ended up being, like, the most relevant thing you get from it is that the guy, Flynn, is okay with taking responsibility on the fly. He's able to adjust and modify what what himself or what he's doing, or whatever. But at the same time, that bit recognized him from his program, like from earlier, like the very beginning, where his program had a bit with it. And when it broke, like the tank broke and the guy escapes, whatever, and then the bit just floating around. So the bit recognized him. And that's, I think, the most important part of the whole thing. Did I lose you, bro? Did I get worked again?
No, that was me. That was me. I forgot the mute was on. But you know how in X amount of like the fantasy lore stories of where it's like, and the prophecy of there will be the one who can speak with the wind and communicate with the animals and is the seer of the future, blah blah blah. And I feel like Flynn there was that kind of, even though this was a virtual computer space, right? We're talking ones and zeros. We're talking like computer science level shit. But like, when Ram had ended up, dying in it, I feel like that was one of the moments right there where it was like, oh, the mysticism kind of came in the character of he will have the abilities of one not from your area, some shit like that.
Yeah, I definitely does show there. I don't know, like, I still feel like religion being put into the parts of everything. So like when each one of the software things died, it's like, in reality, think about it, that'd be a hard delete. Like, you just got defragged out, bro.
Right. Like, yeah, it was definitely like little things that, but I was like, okay, like I hear it, but wow, okay, this is where we going with that. All right, got it.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I said, like, and I understand it from the standpoint of like how like story archetypes work, and like in narrative and like plot, um, development. But I thought that was interesting though. Like, just there were certain parts where it like totally broke from ones and zero science. Like, we're gonna throw this like mysticism kind of thing into it. I thought that was interesting though. So yeah, I mean, it did start off with like software systems that had emotion. So, I mean, what do we really expect?
Yeah.
There you go. I guess let me get into the metrics of it right now. So on, all right. So, sorry. For the user, so start off with the user interface in regards to inside the system. I think that was pretty interesting inside the system for how they had it showing. Arguably, that was more advanced than like kind of what we have now for how we play some of the games and stuff inside of Metaverses. I'm gonna give it a 1 just because for the time that it came out, like that was ahead of the game. Like, and then we don't got shit that we could do frisbee like that on, bro. Like, we're what, 40 years later? 40 years later. Like, we don't
Yeah.
have on that frisbee game.
The only thing we got is the frisbee golf carriage.
Yeah, so I'm gonna give that one a 1. So that was the user interface. Like that stuff was dope. How that was designed. The user experience. I think that when you take into account like how it was working, like at least for how it was representing it there, like the programs died, the programs had emotions, the programs had an awareness, right?
Mhm.
So if anything, that I would argue should be a 1 too, because um again, for granted it's a movie, but it's still like further ahead than how we are presenting for what we have now that we can interact with. And there was the other one, hardware. All right. So which part of I mean, aside from the terminals, I mean, there was a laser in there, you know. I do wonder
Yeah.
which was the place that they went to with that big red door, the big pink door thing that was like to the lab place that they worked. I do.
That probably would have been an entrance to the laser.
No, it
Those,
was.
because
Well,
those types of bay doors is for like radioactive leaking and stuff. And for the 80s, big lasers, they would have had like some kind of gas, some kind of like a volatile gas. So they probably wanted thick walls and doors. So that way, if an explosion or something happened, it wouldn't leak out. That's the only thing I could think of, to be honest.
no, but I'm saying like, where is that? Like, what was that actual building? That's what I was curious about.
Oh,
Because they had the logo on the door,
yeah.
but nonetheless, I mean, I'm gonna give it a 0 on the hardware because the oh, you made it back. Um the the what was it? The hardware, I mean, aside from the computer terminals that they were using, I feel like X amount of it was a little bit more advanced, but then at the same time it was still like, but you're still using the keyboard. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like 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 you're talking to the algorithm, the AI, but then you're still using the keyboard. What? So I'm gonna give it a 0 on that one. Um, which also gets into the thing. Now that I think about the scene, um, so Flynn, when they first introduced him using his software, which his software is a crawler. That algo is a crawler because it's trying to search through the stuff to get the file, but it isn't it it doesn't have the defensive capability while still functioning in the offensive sense of searching for information. So it gets overwhelmed by the master program system, like defending stuff. Um so what was the other category? It was the hardware, UX, UI, and then
Universal experience.
Metaverse experience. Metaverse experience, I think is dope. Like, I think that I wish they would have explored more of the inoperative program part of this. Like, I wish that would have got explored out a little bit more. Um, but not a but. I say, man, you mad late, ACU. Um, so yeah, I think that on that one, the metaversal experience, I'm gonna say in the overall, I'm gonna give it in the overall, I'm gonna give it a 1. I'm gonna give it a 1 in the overall.
Okay.
You mad late, bro. But yeah, I'd give it a 1 in the overall. So what was that? UI is a 1, UX is a 1, hardware was a 0, and then the metaverse experience in the overall, I give it a 1. So
Okay.
Hold on, my check's coming in here. I just sent her a link.
what?
Found me a crypto check, bro.
I'm done with you. Anyway, you missed it. We were talking about the movie Tron, the 82 version, not the latter remake ones. And we kind of covered a range of different things that we found in it as far as like machine learning, sentient AI, um, security AI versus like um 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 virus nature AI. And there's a number of different things going on. And then we found like a couple of different Easter eggs in the movie. And I almost want to like go on YouTube to see what other Easter eggs are in the movie. Because I feel like there's definitely more than the two that we found.
Yeah, bro. There's probably a whole bunch in there.
Yeah. And then you missed it. Last week we was talking about Lawnmower Man 2.
Bro, I gotta watch that. I'm gonna watch that tonight. So then I'll be ready for next time.
Bro, we talked about the movie last week.
Oh, then which one's this one?
I don't even know what the next movie we're gonna end up doing, if we do a movie or a TV show. I'm not even sure.
Bro, you have no idea. I'm so fucking busy this week, and last week it's been like, yeah, I just had somebody tell me, oh, Douglas is on right now. Fuck, I've been trying to get Douglas in on a meeting. We're building something right now, and I forgot he was on the space. I was like, oh, so here I am. We definitely got a lot going on over here now. Good time to build.
Yeah, and yeah, it is definitely a lot going on. So all right. So do you got any movie recommendations, 3D? Brandon, do you got any movie recommendations? Groove Dude, do you have any movie recommendations? ACU, do you have any movie recommendations? Or TV show?
Yeah, I'm gonna say Ghost in the Shell original movie.
I feel like that was already on our list. Did we talk about that?
How about
It might be.
how about creative control?
I gotta look that up.
Yeah, look that and read over what it's about real quick, and that'd be a cool one.
Where's my pen? Is that a show or movie, Chris?
It looks like it's a movie from 2015.
Okay. All right. We'll look into that and we'll see what's up. Yeah, we did talk about Ghost in the Shell. I think that was like after the Johnny Mnemonic joint. So yeah. All right. How about this? Ghost in the Shell next week and then Creative Control the following week.
Sounds good.
All right. So I will write this stuff down.
Have y'all done Free Guy yet?
Free Guy. No.
We have not, and I was wondering if that would be a good pick, so probably would be.
Okay.
Yes, sir. That one's pretty dope.
Free Guy. All right. I gotta look up what that's about.
Yeah, I can tell you now, Free Guy hits the chord to go in. It's like someone in a video game who awakens.
Okay. Then I guess we got the next 3 movies.
Next 3 weeks, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Bet. Next 3 weeks. So Ghost in the Shell next week. Following that is gonna be Creative Control and then Free Guy.
Just wait until we get into like Dot Hack and stuff like that, where they have an entire 5 or 6 series show over this exact concept.
All right. So there you have it. Thank you for the suggestions. And hopefully when I send out the invites and stuff, people will show up to come talk about the movie that they suggested. And hopefully you watch the movie that you suggested.
My bad. I got my kids 80% of the time. It's been rough, and I've been juggling a lot. Sorry.
I understand adulthood be adulthood. All right. So we are at like the hour and a half mark. And so I do want to close out on some things. That being one, me and 3D, we are the two geeky folks behind the Builder DAO, which basically is a building guild that we put together on the Wax protocol. So we have a whole smart contract thing that works towards that, as well as like we build within the Uplift metaverse, which is based on the Minecraft ecosystem. And yeah, our first client was actually Groove. Oh yeah, it's still here. It's probably the delay part that's messing up on your side. So yeah, basically we're not tourists in this thing. We do the stuff that we're talking about, whether it is in the Uplift metaverse or some other places that we do stuff in. And we put out some tools out there, or at least we made a website or IPFS that has a list of all of the types of low code, no code, and free open source software that can be used to create a bunch of different things. It's just like how you figure out how to, how do you say, arrange or utilize the tools in combination. So whether you're talking about an NFT creator, a PFP generator, a smart contract, or like a no code metaverse space, all of that stuff is on there. If you're interested in it, definitely just DM us on the Builder DAO or catch us on the individual Twitter accounts. 3Ds you see right there. Mine's is Trek with 2Ks, so the TREKKWKS. And we can share the information with folks because the idea is we want to get people interested in this techie side stuff. If you get in now and start learning how to build and create, even if you don't know how to code, when this market does what it's supposed to do and things get more normalized and the mass adoption stuff starts happening, you're going to be in a better place than a lot of people because you actually know how to do stuff. I was listening to something the other day and it was a marketing guy and he said, advertising is a tax on, what was it? The non-technical and poor people. And based on the things that I'm seeing, how Web3 is moving as a mass market, mass adoption thing, it's looking very, very, very true to me. But that's just me. Nonetheless, if anybody else wants to say anything last, I appreciate, just raise your hand, jump up. Hey, what happened? How did you lose your thing? What the hell? Okay, there you go. I do not know. Twitter is like really been kind of annoying the last like week or so.
Yeah, it's been really,
They had a
really bad. I couldn't hear you guys, so I had to leave and come back in.
Okay, got you. All right, but yeah, so we're closing down is pretty much what's going on right now. Just for, Dana, sorry you got a little bit, you got in on the latter end of it all. Appreciate you for jumping in, but we're about to close down. But so that you know, in the next coming 3 weeks, we got 3 movies that we'll be going through. Next week is going to be Ghost in the Shell, the original cartoon animation. Then the following week is going to be Creative Control. And then the third week is going to be Free Guy. So those are the movies we're going to be watching. And then we're going to be breaking down the whole thing about the metaversal experience, the UI, the UX, and the hardware stuff that's related to it. So please do join us. We'll keep an eye out for when we post the Twitter spaces. Other than that, I hope everyone has a good evening, be in a safe place and a safe space, and in good company. and a good weekend. 3D, do you got anything to say?
Yeah, I need to double check. Are we watching Ghost in the Shell, the original movie, or Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex?
You got the original movie.
Okay, yeah, because what you said the original animation, and they're both original animations, so I wasn't sure which one. Okay, yeah. So Ghost in the Shell, the original movie, not the second movie, and not Standalone Complex. Okay, because like that's one of the ones we'll probably end up having to go into all three of those eventually, because they're all separately different and awesome. I did see Danish just jumped in too. Hey Danish, and thank everybody for showing up. Brandon, it's nice to meet you, man. I went ahead and followed you. Thanks for coming in. I was totally gonna hit you up after this because I saw you were trying to hit me up when I was getting set up for this. But yeah, some of these older films are so much on point to what we're actually at in reality, even though they still skewed so far over. And I just think it's crazy because some of the newer films that we have nowadays don't even match up to the reality of how things are for metaverses and the technology and things like that.
Yeah, man, that is so true. But we will get into all of this and more as we do this again next week, Thursday, 8 p.m. If you don't know, this is the Metaverses. The name of this actual show is called Metaverses, The Other Side. Also, thing to note is we will be bringing this over to the YouTube side as far as another way of distributing this content, these recordings. And we're going to do some funky, interesting visual stuff for this. Think Midnight Gospel. If you know about that animation, it's along that line. But other than that, folks, have a good evening. Thanks again for joining. We appreciate it.